Now, if you follow the channel, you realise I'm a big fan of 80s and 90s action, but I'm also a fan of physical media. Now, I've recently picked up some very rare bootlegs. I was kind of given the predicament because these are just the discs, so I want to make them more presentable. So I came up with this solution going back to the way we used to collect videos back in the 80s and 90s, Scotch videotape design, using my own custom designed sleeves based on this Scotch videotape, the blank tapes you used to buy back in the day, using the original artwork from that, just kind of customizing it to my own use. Now, this is for my own personal collection, so this isn't something I'm making available or marketing or I'm profiting from in any way, but it's pretty cool, so I thought I'd show you it and kind of go through my thought process when designing these. Enjoy. Now, obviously, a VHS video cassette tape and a DVD, when it's in the case, have very different dimensions. So you can see the kind of thing I've done here, just kind of compensate for the differences in the dimensions. Obviously, the spine was a big deal because a DVD is, well, in the case again, is much thinner. So I've had to kind of change things, stretch things, shorten things, that kind of thing. But you can tell just from looking at it. But let's go across to my video collection and just see kind of what I'm talking about here.
This reminds me of that one time when Buff was going through the shelves in the supermarket and he accidentally picked up a Topher's nut milk. Didn't end well for the Buff.
Apologies there, we seem to have played the wrong clip. We'll just get back to it. As I said, we're going to show my video collection, my action movies, and we'll just see the thought process behind this and my backstory to what made me come up with this idea. So I've shown it in the past. I've got quite a video collection. When I say video, I don't just mean tape. I mean DVDs, DVD video, Blu-ray video, that kind of thing. And I'm showing you at the moment my action movie collection. Now, a lot of these are ones that are on DVD or Blu-ray. Now, take, for example, this one that you kind of see in the middle, kind of going off to the left, Family of Cops. That's a box set, Charles Bronson TV movie trilogy that you generally cannot get in the UK. I say generally, you just can't. It's not available. I live in the UK, and I, in that instance, had to get a Swedish import. It was quite expensive, and it's not something that popped up often. So when it did, I snapped it up, and I kind of enjoyed it, to be honest, but separate issue. Now, the point I'm making is, as a collector, you buy what you can, where you can, when you can, and you try to get the best formats you can where available. But there are some instances where there's just some movies that you cannot get hold of, particularly in other countries like the UK. So this most recent batch of movies that I bought, which are effectively bootleg, in this instance, a lot of Cynthia Rothrock movies. She's an action star from the 80s and 90s. She's still doing stuff as well. Impressive. But I just cannot get hold of these movies other than by getting bootlegs of them. Now, part of the problem is, I think in some of these instances, people don't know who own the rights to these things, maybe, so that's why you can't get them, because nobody dare actually release them officially, because they don't know who's going to come out of the woodwork with a lawsuit. So, from what I was told, some of these are actually public domain. I kind of find that hard to believe, but whatever. So, obviously, as you can see in my collection here, I take big pride in my collection. I spend a lot of money. The Bruce Lee Arrow 4K box set I've talked about last year, I bought last year. I love to own physical media. So, as you can see, that's kind of the point. So what I'm going to do from here on, I'm going to have a bit of a chat with my co-reviewer, The Core, and we're going to get into a little bit more about physical media once again, but we're also going to talk a little bit about VHS as a format and why I thought that would be a good idea for these custom design sleeves that I've made.
Right, so obviously, because we've talked about this in the past before on the channel, in terms of physical media and so on, and the concept of pirating things and torrenting things. I mean, we've been talking about that for years. I remember when we were doing videos talking about, I think it was Ash versus the Evil Dead. I think we were even talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back when we used to watch that. That's how, far back on the channel we've been talking about this, and the kind of moral dilemma that you've got, where if it's just not available, like, legitimately to you, whether it's streaming or physical media, the only way to watch it is to torrent it. So, kind kind of different argument, really, but it just kind of overlap with the discussion here because, as I was mentioning before, I had the opportunity to get hold of some movies that I can't otherwise get hold of, just 80s and 90s action movies. A lot of these I haven't even heard of before because they just never got a UK release, as far as I can tell. Or if they ever did, it long since out of print. I don't think they got a DVD release. A lot of these haven't seen the light of day since VHS. Hence the inspiration that I had for the artwork that I've done. So basically, the last order that I did, I think I ordered like 20 movies, and the majority of them, I think like 16 of them were Cynthia Rothrock movies. There's plenty of movies of hers that you can get in the UK. A lot of them have been had quite good, prominent releases. I'm just looking at my collection. Eureka, that's one of the boutique labels that Arrow Video they've released. One or two, I think, like Lady Reporter and Yes Madam. There's 88 films they've done a few, like Righting Wrongs, Magic Crystal, Inspector Wears Skirts. Pretty good films as well, some of these. They sound crap, but they're actually really good. So you can get quite a few. In fact, this week, I think it's as of today, maybe as I'm recording this, China O'Brien 1 and 2, that's a Cynthia Rothrock double movie from the early 90s, is getting a 4K Blu-ray release. That's really good. But she did a lot of films, some not as good as others, but it's just nice to be able to like own them as part of a collection. So when you've been spending a lot of money on these boutique Blu-rays, you'd like to have a nice big collection and have access to these things, but a lot of instances you don't have that, so I've had to go out of my way to get these things illegitimately, I guess. So, what's your thinking on that?
I mean, my biggest like experience with like things being like unavailable is probably back in like the 90s, where you'd have this like it's something that I don't think most like gamers today would even like comprehend, like the concept of like, right, there could be a big game come out and it just not get released in like Europe at all, because there were quite a few where you basically just could not get them because it was like, oh, well, it's only really interested in Japan. Well, we might port it to America. Yeah, we can't be bothered porting it to like Europe, so there's no PAL version. It's like, fuck's sakes.
I can remember that, actually. Yeah, and I know that's something Angry Video Game Nerd has talked about as well in the past as well.
It's where you'd have to get like chipped, or it's what they used to call chipped, like Super Nintendos and stuff, so you can actually play these games, because it was just copyright protection. That was what was stopping you. Like you could even like if you got them imported, they would not work.
Yeah, because with the TVs that we had with CRT TVs, you had like NTSC American, and in the UK it was PAL. So even if you could actually like run the game,
it was more than that with because if you had like a dodgy like PlayStation, it was just the copy protection that was stopping you.
Yeah.
There were ways of like basically like tricking it to think, oh, it's got guarantee, it's got proper like copyright, so it'll run this game. Like that's literally the only thing that was stopping it was like the licensing deal.
Yeah. So not all memories are happy ones, really. I remember lots of different dilemmas, some of which was just a matter of being impatient, I guess. But they used to really cock tease you with big movies that you wanted to have in your collection. Because nowadays a film comes out of the cinema and maybe 3-4 months later you can physically own it on a Blu-ray or whatever. Back in the day, you could be waiting a year, and a lot of these would be big films as well, like big event films, like James Bond movies. So
it used to be like, oh, you can get it on like satellite television. You can rent it. Finally, you can buy X rental if you can get a hold of an X rental, which isn't always possible. Oh, and finally, you can buy them properly. It's like fucking ages would go by. Like, I clearly remember that.
Well, I remember like GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies, when they came out in like, those films come out in 95 and 97. So say they've come out in the November or December at the cinema, they then come out to rent maybe like the subsequent June on videotape, and you'd have to keep buying it. But you kind of, as a collector, you wanted to own it, and you'd be waiting until the next November until you could actually buy it. If you like you say, good point there. There was the X rental thing where if you paid like quite a lot of money, you could get an X rental version of it as well. And that was really for kind of hardcore fans of these things. Sometimes they're quite well priced. I remember just kind of casually buying the film Bad Boys because it was kind of cool. And it wasn't really expensive, but you couldn't actually buy it in shops normally. So I was like the first person I knew to actually own the film Bad Boys, and it was a really good film as well. In fact, Buff will be watching this. I think he bought it as well the same day, because I remember it had like reversible sleeves as well. It was a pretty cool memory. But that was just being impatient. But going back to what you were saying about copy protection, I remember obviously if you got two video recorders and put a SCART lead between the two of them, you could copy from a rented movie onto a blank videotape. So something like this kind of videotape, and you'd have this little thing on the back as well, so you could sort of take it off if you wanted to make it read only or whatever. But they had this copy protection thing on a lot of studios. I think Warner Brothers didn't do it. MGM didn't do it, because I remember copying, was it Tomorrow Never Dies, I think, onto a videotape. But 20th Century Fox did. So if you tried to copy it, the picture would just be like unwatchable. You'd have like a seizure or something if you tried to watch it, I think. But
it's around some of them, but not others. Like I know it was a bit weird. It's like you say, some of them had none. Some of them had like you couldn't fucking do it regardless. I think some of them were like bizarre, like hoops you could jump through that could sort it.
Yeah. So that was one thing we did. So we ended up with like movies on tapes like this in a kind of rubbish cassette cover. As a loyal, physical media collector and somebody who wants to have something in like an official case, when the movies did come out to actually buy, I would buy them. So really, I wasn't depriving these studios of a penny, because I was renting them where available. And then when it was out to buy, I would buy it like day one so I could have it in a nice cover. But there was that middle bit in between where you'd have the movie on like a tape like this. So that's what inspired this design that I came up with for these movies that I have bought recently. So as I was showing at the beginning of the video, I just got these movies on discs, and it's really kind of unsatisfying having like quite a few of your movies on a disc in like a thin plastic sleeve or whatever, when the rest of your collection's in a nice case. So I was trying to think of ideas. I was thinking maybe like make a case for each film. There's like 20 of them, like make my own like custom like DVD sleeves and print them all off. And then I'll have like 20 like more DVDs, more shelf space. So what I did was I came up with this idea using the artwork. Obviously, you can't see this car because you're being an ASB, but I used the Scotch videotape artwork. So I had the front of it, the back of it, and obviously the side is where you'd have the spine with a sticky label. Back in the day, you'd put a sticky label that would come with the tape. You could put a sticker label on the actual tape itself, and you could put one on the side of the tape as well, like so here. This one doesn't have one, but you would have done back in the day.
Yeah, and then you have like a massive, like you used to get those special video like boxes to put them in. What you call, like basically what you get for like discs nowadays, but you get them for like tapes. Usually big clunky things because tapes are a lot bigger than discs. Then your friends can be looking through your collection, like reading all the tapes, all the stickers across the top of the tapes, and be like, Paul Daniels Christmas special? Like, utterly like, what the fuck was this I've just found?
Yeah, you'd always have something on there that was like a bit embarrassing or whatever. I mean, I've got a tape here. In fact, this is actually pretty cool, to be fair. This was from the year 2000, so this was a sticker that I put on the side of an actual videotape itself. and it was the series Meet Ricky Gervais. See, I was a fan of Ricky Gervais before it was cool to be a fan of Ricky Gervais. Well, I do remember that Jimmy Savile was actually on one of those episodes as well. But that was the kind of sticker that you would get. So, and you'd handwrite on it as well. So it just looked really crap if you had something in your collection like next to a load of bought movies. But it's all we could do, so we made do. So what I've done with this is the DVDs I've made. I've used the artwork. I've kind of obviously added some borders down the side to make the dimensions suitable for a DVD case. And then I took the side bit, which obviously the side of a DVD and the side of a videotape are very different dimensions as well. So I've just kind of stretched things out a little bit. And there you go. You've got like a handwritten label on the side of the thing, just like you would have back in the day, including the same kind of artwork that you'd have. So it just looks nice. This is my personal collection. It's unique. It's unique to me, even though it's using like old, well-established, well-recognizable artwork. So, but I've just got loads of these now. So, you know, I'm just going to keep going. Anything I've got like this, I'm just going to put these in these kind of cases, and they look really nice as well. So, in fact, do you remember In Bed With Me Dinner, the TV series?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know you remember because we've talked about this a lot of time. Hypothetical question: do you remember? We managed to get hold. I think it was like 15 years ago. We managed to get hold of somebody who was selling copies of taped episodes that they'd converted onto DVD discs, and we've still got them. I've still got mine. Have you? You've still got yours, I assume.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it was like
find like a better resource for them online, but yeah, that's not
yeah.
the ones I bought as well.
Yeah, there were some downloadable ones. For people watching this In Bed With Me Dinner, it was like a late night TV show in the 90s where a guy used to get like funny videos and just kind of take the piss out of them, and it was really funny. But yeah, we found somebody that was selling like bootleg copies of those years ago, and since then, it was like 2007 when we bought them. We just had the discs. So now I've bought these cases to put like 6 discs in a case, and there you go. I've got In Bed With Me Dinner Volume 1, In Bed With Me Dinner Volume 2. So that's pretty cool. Anybody watching this, check out In Bed With Me Dinner. It's on YouTube. It was really funny. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool anyway. You could do your own. I've not made this cover available to anybody. I'm probably going to get messages saying like, "Can you send me the copy of the template?" I don't actually have it on my phone or anything, but I suppose I could probably do that. But you can make your own. To be honest, what's great about this is it's kind of unique to me. I designed these myself. You can use any. I mean, I used Scotch because it's a more recognisable one and it just looks kind of cool. But you had like TDK ones back in the day.
It's the tapes I had with TDK because I know that one's very familiar to me.
Yeah, there was Bush. That's another one. I think that's a British one because it's got the Union Jack on it. Don't think I've got any more down here that have actually got covers on them. But yeah, there were players like Memorex, Kodak. I remember. If you couldn't afford really good branded ones like Scotch, like Woolworths used to do their own. I think even Tesco might have done them as well. So yeah, you could kind of go nuts. And I might even branch off and do some different designs, but I don't know. I'm quite happy with the Scotch one. They just kind of look cool. So yeah, happy memories.
I remember recording stuff off TV, and you'd have to actually be watching it because if you wanted to edit out the adverts, you had to like literally press a button to like stop it recording while the advert is on, and then start it up again.
Yeah, I remember that because I used to watch movies on like a Sunday night. They'd put like a good film on, you know, like Critters or something like that, or Desperado or something or whatever. There's some films I can remember watching, and or White Men Can't Jump as well. That was another one, and you'd be watching it live while recording it, but knowing that you were going to be like rewatching this when on the tape. When the adverts come, you press pause while it's recording, and then unpause when it comes back. So
and the number of times, I don't know if you have this experience, but the number of times you fucking forget, then be like halfway through and be like, shit, I stopped recording. No. Like after fucking
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, fuck.
I've had a few moments like that. Not just movies as well. We used to record whole series. I used to record the X-Files, Friends as well. That was another one like back from series one again. I was a fan of that before. It was cool to be a fan of that. They repeated that first series on Wednesday nights on Channel 4 back in like '96, I think, when the first series had kind of been on. And I recorded them because I'd seen them the summer before. I really enjoyed them and thought it'd be nice to kind of own these. So I recorded them all off TV on a Wednesday night. You, like you say, cut out the adverts and you could fit about 8 episodes on a tape or something. It was pretty cool.
Especially because like so there used to be long play, which was like slightly worse quality. And was it short play? I don't want
Yeah,
to put more
standard
stuff
play.
on the tape.
Yeah, and then there was extended play, which was even bigger. In fact, on this design, it does actually show on this little table how that works. You get like a tape that was, so in this instance, a 2-hour tape, a 120. That means 120 minutes. So 2 hours would become 4 hours on long play or 6 hours on extended play. Obviously, you'd need a VCR that could actually like handle that.
And you used to be able to
from
like
what
set it up, like program it. And again, this is something that go wrong all the fucking time. But you could set it up to like, all right, I need it to, start recording at 9 o'clock tonight and record to like midnight or something, because I'm not going to be around to watch whatever it is that's on.
Yeah, so it was all happy memories. So although it's not as good as like being able to legitimately own these movies, and I would buy them if the option was there, but for whatever reason, some of these things just never got ported across from VHS officially. So one of the ones I watched was a VHS recording onto a disc, and the couple that I watched are actually commercially available DVDs, but not in the UK. So somebody's taken a Region 1 American DVD and converted it onto like a DVD-R disc into a format that we in the UK can now watch. So it's sad that we kind of have to do this in a way, but yeah, that's the only option that I've had. So I don't mind doing that. I don't advocate for this anyway, but the opportunity was there. Somebody was selling them, so I bought them.
Well, it's like I was saying, like if there was a way to like legitimately own these, you would.
Yeah.
Like, but if they don't like give you that option, like how else are you supposed to do it then?
But yeah, I mean my video collection, it all speaks for itself. You can see my how excessive it is. So there's that's how that works. So anyway, well, I'll end it there. I just thought this might have been of interest to people, and maybe gives people ideas. If they're feeling creative, you can kind of do your own. So I will leave it there anyway. So thanks to the core for being involved in this. You've brought up some good points.
Yes.